Have you ever thought about starting your own podcast? When I was trying to get this podcast off the ground, I had so many questions. How do I record an episode? Where do I find background music? How do I get my show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the other places people like to listen? Where do I find advertisers? The answer to every one of these questions is really simple: Anchor. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, distributing, and monetizing your podcast. And best of all, it's 100% free and 100% ridiculously easy to use. So, if you've always wanted to start a podcast, go to anchor.fm/start to join me and a diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. That's anchor.fm/start. I can't wait to hear your podcast. Hello and welcome to Moving Past You. I am your host, Juanita Gaynor, and this is just a brief nugget of wisdom. Today's discussion is going to be about spiritual workouts for empowered living. We're going to be discussing 5 exercises that can help build your spiritual muscles. What we do have to understand as being Christians, we have to do things to continually build our relationship and walk with God. And sometimes it's not always easy. So hopefully these 5 little exercises can help you build great workouts so that you can grow within your walk. The first exercise is number 1, determine to know God more intimately. And there's so many ways that you can do that, but a couple of ways that I recommend that has worked for me is begin a Bible study on the character of God. And for that, I recommend My Father's Names by Elmer T. Towns. It also comes with a study guide and featuring the 12 names of God from the Old Testament. I do have that book. I really enjoy it. I continue to read it. I have used this study guide over and over. I think I need to buy a new one. So if you really want to begin to understand and learn the character, that is a great book. You can also to develop an awareness of God throughout the day, even in your everyday, mundane, repetitive activity. And a book that I have read that I do like is called God Conscious, A 30-Day Journey to Achieve a God-Centered Thinking. And that is by Reverend Michael J.S. Carter. And both of these books you can definitely find on Amazon, Lifeway, probably any, major bookstore, you will be able to find them. Second, collects books, quotes, and musics that encourage you. When I tell you that this is one of the most important things, when you hear an inspiring song or a book recommendation, jot it down, jot it down to buy it or to borrow it later, put a basket of these CDs and books in a handy spots. I still have CDs. I'm dating myself. I still have some great CDs. I haven't fully transferred them over to the computer. But for those, the younger generation, you can use your iTunes, Spotify, Tidal. There's so many different Amazon Music, Google Music, those. Quotes, you can go all over the house. You can draw them, stitch them, frame them. You can, there's so many different ways. You can put them on sticky notes. You can buy them in the store that's in pretty frames or great frames. So get quotes that also inspire you. Review your collection often, especially when you get discouraged. God will use these things to uplift you over and over again. Number 3, mentor someone younger in the faith. I cannot tell you how important this is. But I also want to caution, when you decide to mentor someone that is younger in the faith, and I don't always necessarily mean younger in age. They can be new to the faith. I need you to be transparent. transparency is key, because when you have someone that's newer in faith and they don't understand and they're still trying to figure out and get their own wings, you cannot come off as you've never been through anything. Mentoring someone is sharing your testimony, your trials, and your tribulations so that they can be better Christians as well. You know, consider a high school or college student. You know, you can be blessed by having these young people in your life, and they can enrich your faith greatly as they grow in Christ. And then also let the word out, that you're interested in mentoring someone. You'll be amazed at how many people, young people especially at this day and age, are looking for that nurture, who's looking, to connect with someone to better understand the word, but can understand that they're going through things and that they'll make it. When you're mentoring, if you have a high school student you're mentoring, remember when you was in high school. You can't throw the holier than thou and all of these things at them. You were in high school too. Remember and share those stories within reason. Don't get too crazy, but share those stories and share what you learned from that experience and how it's gotten you to where you are today. And what will help with that student is that they can say, you know what? Okay, I'm not going to be crazy all my life. There is hope. I know I can do better. Miss So-and-so was able to, do better, and look at her. So when you decide to mentor someone, definitely be transparent and be honest, but not to the point where it's just vulgar or it will diminish the purpose of mentoring. Exercise number 4, develop a deeper prayer life. That is always crucial, and that is always a challenge for a lot, including myself. It could be prioritizing, making that time, not getting, distracted. But there are so many great books on prayer. And actually, for the month of October, I've actually started a book that I have had for several years, but I am being directed by God now to read it now, and it has been a blessing. And that book is A Woman's Call to Prayer, and it's by Elizabeth George. And so if you're a young lady, a young woman, grab that book. You can pick it up at Amazon, the Barnes and Nobles, any place. Definitely, if you're looking to develop a deeper prayer life, that is one book. Also, for the ladies and the men, 31 Days of Praise, Enjoying God Anew, and it's by Ruth and Warren Myers. Or one that I has read, and I will definitely am planning to pick up again to reread for next month, is Prayer, Speaking God's Language, and that is by Joni Eckerson Tada. And so also make an updated list of people and ministries to pray for with specific needs. So when I say make a list and update it, when I'm just going to say, I'm going to pray for New Life Missionary Baptist Church, and I am going to pray for their continued strength and success in them feeding the homeless. Be specific. Don't just say, I'm just praying for overall blessings and whatever. That's great, but be specific. If you're praying for an individual who is battling a health issue or is having a spiritual battle or having family problem with the children, pray specifically for that particular topic that and you have an intimate knowledge of, and pray for them on. Make your prayer specific. Faithfully update your prayer list, and, record God's answers as they occur, and you'll be continually inspired, and encouraged by your prayer notebook. Listen to other mature Christians pray. You can learn much by their example. I am still in that process of learning to pray effective prayers. So I do, be quiet around those who have been in the faith and whose prayer, like, I'm gonna be honest, I miss those prayers of those old mothers when I was coming up. Like, they and those older deacons, like, they could just get some prayers up. Like, I know it was the prayer of my grandmother before she passed years that had kept me sane from with everything that I was doing. So you do want to take examples, and you do want to listen to how they pray and intercede on the behalf of people and ministries. And that is what you want to take into account when you're praying for others. And finally, number 5 is make sharing Christ with others a part of your lifestyle. Nothing will empower you more than watching the Holy Spirit work through you to bring someone to a personal relationship with Him. Sharing the story of how you met Christ can become a life-changing habit. And when I say that is many people don't truly share their stories anymore like they did when I was younger. How that day when they knew that it was that time to commit their life and to have that relationship. So many times it's just sugar-coated and glossed over. But it was those stories of those who were so transparent, even in my worst situations, even in my lowest of lows and darkest of darkest moments. I still saw hope and faith in those who were giving their testimonies, because it was just like, okay, if they were able to make it, okay, I know at some point I possibly can make it. So again, sharing your story and being transparent is so important, and another thing that you can do is try the pray for you technique. And I'll explain what that is. It's like, you can tell you can tell a neighbor or a friend or a colleague that you like to include their needs in your daily prayer list. You'll be surprised at how eager people are to have you pray for them, and it opens many doors for conversations about God and His power. I am a true witness of how this works. I reach out to certain people, and say, hey, I am doing, I'm adding to my prayer list. Is there anything you would like for me to seek God, for on your behalf? And then it amazes me. It's like, yes. And they're just talking and talking, and I'm just taking notes, and I'm letting them speak. And it's amazing how they had been waiting for someone to ask that question. They were just so receptive and so open to just saying, yes, this is what I need. This is what I'm hungering for. So ask and then put them on that list. And what I do is, every week I say, is there anything else you need me to pray for you for? Or before the next week can come out, they may have come to me and was like, oh my goodness, this happened, that happened. Thank you for, putting me in prayer. Thank you for this worked out. Or, my son is okay. My husband's okay. Thank you. And then you know what? I celebrate that with them. And then I say, is there something else that you need me to pray for you? And sometimes I ask them sometimes I will ask them, is there something that I can pray for you for? Because so many times we are always thinking about others, especially as women and mothers and wives, we're thinking about everyone else. So I will double back and be like, is there a specific need that you have that you would like for me to pray for? And that always works, because then now they're like, oh wow, somebody cares. No one never asks me, do I need anything or do I want anything? So those are just 5 exercises that you can, begin to work on to work and build your spiritual muscles and to create a tighter and, more intimate relationship with God. And by doing that, you can help, shine your light through to others. I'm just going to go over the exercises. The first one is determine to know God more intimately. Number 2 is collect books, quotes, and music that encourages you. Number 3, mentor someone younger in the faith. Number 4, develop a deeper prayer life. And number 5, make sharing Christ with others a part of your lifestyle. I want to thank you so much for listening to this nugget of wisdom on Moving Past You. Be sure to visit the Moving Past You Facebook group and join the conversation to access show notes, get for fantastic bonus content. Also for this particular nugget of wisdom, so that you can get the links to the various books that we discussed within this particular nugget of wisdom. Also, if you're on iTunes, Google Podcast, or Spotify, you can search for Moving Past You and you can subscribe and you can get notification when we upload brand new shows and nuggets of wisdom. And I always want to leave you with this. Always remember to be kind in your word, thought, and deed. Be blessed, and I'll speak with you soon.